You ever wonder what kind of billionaire bets his entire future on a total stranger? Or what kind of woman just walks in and turns his whole empire upside down? Well, let me tell you about Richard Walker, a man who promised to marry the very next woman who walked through the door. And he didn't expect that woman to be homeless, didn't expect his career, his past, or his heart to unravel in front of her. What started as a reckless dare quickly spiraled into a scandal that threatened to destroy everything he'd built. Stick around, because what she does next will shock even the man who gave her everything. So picture this. The Grand Oak Bistro, all dressed up under the glittering Chicago skyline. Golden lights flicker against those massive glass windows, the clink of crystal glasses blending with the soft hum of whispered deals and laughter from the city's elite. And right there, tucked in a corner booth with a sweeping view of Lake Michigan, sits Richard Walker, 45 years old, owning half the skyline, a legend in his own right. Not just rich, but ruthless, a Wall Street titan turned philanthropist. The tabloids dubbed him the Ice King, but tonight, if you look close, you'd see that ice was starting to crack. He swirls a glass of Bordeaux, watching the dark liquid spin, like the thoughts swirling in his head. "You've got that look again," says Daniel Hayes, his longtime attorney and maybe his only real friend. Richard sighs, trouble at the firm. Daniel raises an eyebrow. The business is fine. The legacy's the problem. Richard's jaw tightens. "You know how I was raised. My father passed the company to me, his father to him, but me? How about no one? Emily's brilliant, I know, but the board, the legacy, it's all about a son. A male heir." Daniel shakes his head. "Richard, it's 2025. That thinking's outdated and cruel." Richard mutters bitterly, "Tell that to my father's will. He left me a billion-dollar empire and a burden I can't pass on." Daniel stays quiet. He knows the guilt Richard carries. The failed marriage with Lauren, the way he pushed her away, obsessed with legacy over family. Then, Richard's eyes light up with a strange fire. "I'm done waiting for fate to fix this," he says, a tense excitement in his voice. Daniel narrows his eyes. "What do you mean?" "A bet," Richard says, turning to the entrance. "The next woman who walks through that door, I'll marry her." Daniel chokes on his drink. "Are you out of your mind?" Richard smirks. "Probably. But I've tried logic and legacy. Now I want something unpredictable. Whoever she is, she'll be mine." Then the door swings open, and time slows. Not a socialite in heels, not some high-powered attorney, but a woman with tangled dark hair, dirt-smudged jeans, and a face both young and worn. Everyone knew she didn't belong here. Grace Miller had no idea walking into that restaurant would change her life. She looks around, nervous, eyes wide like a trapped animal, clutching the straps of a torn backpack. Murmurs rise. A waitress moves toward her. Security follows, but before anyone can act, Richard stands up. "Wait," he commands, voice echoing, all eyes on him. "I invited her." Even Daniel's mouth drops open. Ignoring the gasps and whispers, Richard walks to Grace, smiling like she's royalty. "Good evening. I'm Richard Walker. Would you care to join me for dinner?" Grace stares like he's insane, eyes flicking to the guards, then back. My name's Grace," she says cautiously, voice rough from the cold. Richard tastes the name, a beautiful name. She hesitates, then places her calloused hand in his. Daniel watches, stunned. "What the hell are you doing?" he mutters. Across town, Lauren Walker scrolls through headlines on her phone. Billionaire causes scene with homeless woman at Grand Oak Bistro. She blinks, exasperated. "Oh, God. What did you do now, Richard?" Back at Richard's penthouse, Grace sits stiffly on a leather sofa, walls lined with priceless art. "Why am I here?" she wonders. "What does he want from me?" Richard looks at her, sincere. "I want to marry you." Grace jumps up, nearly knocking over her coffee. "What kind of twisted game is this? I'm not some joke you play to feel better about yourself." Richard quickly says, "It's not a game. I made a vow, and you walked through that door. You don't even know me. Maybe I'd like to." Grace shakes her head. This is insane, but something in his voice, tired, honest, makes her pause. It doesn't sound like manipulation, but a man who's done pretending. "Still, She's not ready to trust him. Not yet. Not when her life taught her nothing's free. Meanwhile, Lauren calls Daniel after months of silence. What's going on? You won't believe this. Daniel's grim. He's serious. He's really doing it. Lauren's breath catches. She doesn't know Grace, but whoever she is, she just walked into a storm. Grace Miller didn't sleep that night. Sitting on the edge of a luxurious guest bed in Richard's penthouse, staring out at Chicago's skyline, she doesn't belong here. The sheets are too soft, the silence too deep. Miles from the park bench she curled up on 2 days ago. She replays his words. I want to marry you. Not just absurd, but dangerous. Early morning. She's in the kitchen nursing coffee when Richard walks in, dressed casually, eyes bright when he sees her. Did you sleep? She doesn't answer. Why are you really doing this? She asks. He hesitates. I meant what I said. I made a vow, and I intend to keep it. A vow, she slams down her mug. To your ego? Your legacy? Or just a performance to fix the hole in your heart? His confession stings, maybe all of it. But something happened when you walked in. It wasn't just the vow anymore. Grace folds her arms. You don't even know who I am. He nods. That's why I want us to spend time together first. No pressure, no wedding bells tomorrow. Just get to know each other. See if this crazy thing has a heartbeat. She stares, guard up, but maybe curiosity, maybe longing. Fine, she says, but I need my own place. Not this tower. Richard grins, done. What follows is the strangest week of her life. He moves her into a modest, furnished apartment near Millennium Park, comfortable, safe, nothing flashy. A wardrobe tailored to her tastes appears, etiquette lessons offered, not imposed. Still, despite the tenderness, Grace keeps her distance. She walks mornings, reads afternoons in cafes, and wonders when the real motive will show itself. Meanwhile, the headlines won't quit. Billionaire's new mystery woman Cinderella or scam? Lauren sees every story, every rumor, and her chest tightens. She hasn't seen Richard this alive in years, not even when their daughter Emily was born. And now, he's chasing a woman he barely knows, ready to hand over an empire once guarded with iron fists. Lauren calls Daniel. I need to see her. Grace's day in a cafe is interrupted by a woman with sharp blazer and darker hair. You're Lauren, Grace says before she even speaks. Lauren sits down, and you're Grace, the woman my ex-husband met on a dare and decided to rewrite his future for. Grace raises an eyebrow. You came to warn me? Lauren surprises her. No. To understand you. Because if this is real, if you're serious, then you deserve to know what you're walking into. They talk for an hour. Lauren doesn't try to tear Richard down. She tells stories of his ambition, obsession with legacy, how it destroyed everything good, including their marriage. Grace listens, silent. I don't even blame you. But I need to know you're not just a passing storm. My daughter, she's watching. Grace's hands tremble, and suddenly this isn't a fairy tale anymore. It's real. It has consequences. That night, Grace knocks on Richard's office door. He's on a call, but hangs up. What's wrong? Your ex-wife came to see me. He blinks. What? She wanted to make sure I knew what I was stepping into. She wasn't angry. She was heartbroken. He rubs his neck. Grace, I didn't mean to, I know. She cuts him off. But this is bigger than you or me. You've got a daughter, a legacy, a whole history. I'm just crashing into it. He steps closer, voice soft. You're not crashing. You're changing it. Grace's voice cracks. I don't know if I can. I've spent years surviving, not living. And now you want me to step into this glass world and pretend I belong. No, he whispers. I want you to be exactly who you are. She doesn't flinch. Outside, Lauren watches silently through the glass, and she's not the only one watching. Across town, an old man sits in a dark office, reading the headlines with a bitter smile. Richard Walker, always too sentimental. He picks up the phone. Activate the contingency plan. What secret had Richard buried deep in his past? What part was about to come knocking? The call comes just after midnight. Richard stands by his penthouse window, Chicago's lights like veins of fire beneath him. His phone buzzes, third call from Daniel in an hour. When he finally answers, Daniel wastes no time. We've got a problem. How bad? Board level bad. Someone's leaking financial records, trying to build a case that you misuse company funds to support Grace. They're painting her as a gold digger. This isn't a smear campaign, it's a coup. Richard's stomach sinks. Daniel continues. They're twisting everything: the apartment, the clothes, even that one night at the opera, claiming it was all company funded, part of some personal experiment. Board meeting tomorrow at noon. They want you to step down. Richard stares at the skyline, knowing this was coming. In his world, love wasn't allowed to look this messy, this real. Near Lakeview, Grace sits in a quiet cafe, her phone lighting up with headlines: Billionaire's romance sparks financial scandal. From park bench to penthouse, the truth about Grace Miller. Her heart pounds as Lauren slips into the seat across from her. I figured you'd be here. Grace's expression unreadable. I didn't do anything wrong. Lauren replies softly, the world doesn't care. They want a villain, and you walked in at just the right time. Grace stares. So why are you here? Lauren says, I've seen Richard make every mistake a man can make, but I've never seen him fight for someone the way he fights for you. He's never needed help more than now. Grace's throat tightens. I didn't ask for this. I just want a chance. Lauren smiles. Then take it. Not just for him. For you. The next day, the Walker Building is swarmed by reporters. The boardroom on the 36th floor packed with cold suits and colder eyes. Richard stands at the head of the table, tie loosened but posture defiant. I didn't misuse company funds. Everything spent came from my personal account. A board member sneers. You brought chaos into this company. Richard snaps back. I built this legacy. Maybe you forgot, but it was built on risk, on doing what others wouldn't dare. Before it escalates, the door swings open. Grace walks in. Gasps ripple. Cameras click. Calmly, she says, I know I wasn't invited, but I need to speak. One board member protests. This is private business. Richard interrupts. She's staying. Grace looks at the room. I don't want Richard's money. I don't want his empire. I didn't ask him to pull me from the shadows. But he did. And for weeks, I thought he'd change his mind once he saw who I really was. She pauses. He didn't. He just kept showing up. Silence. Then, the oldest board member leans forward. Miss Miller, if you're not after money or fame, why are you still here? Grace turns to Richard. Because I love him. And because for the first time, someone believed I was enough. Not pretty enough, not rich enough, just enough. That's when everything shifts. The board votes, and against all odds, Richard keeps his seat on the condition he steps back from day-to-day operations and appoints a co-director. He chooses Emily, his daughter. 3 months later, Grace stands in Lincoln Park, dressed simply in white. Golden autumn, leaves swirling around her. No TV cameras, no luxury gowns, just friends, family, the people who stayed. Richard beside her in a gray suit, eyes soft, hands steady. Daniel gives a speech so heartfelt it leaves half the guests misty-eyed. Lauren stands with Emily, holding the wedding rings. When a minister asks if Grace takes Richard as her husband, she laughs, not mockingly, just disbelief at how far they've come. I do, she whispers. Later, as the reception winds down, Richard and Grace slip away to a quiet bench beneath the trees. I still can't believe this happened, Grace says, leaning into him. Neither can I, Richard replies. But I'd do it all again. Even the scandals, even the headlines, if it meant getting to this. She looks at him, eyes full of something deeper than survival peace. They don't live in a penthouse anymore. They move into a modest brownstone near Wicker Park. Grace keeps her job at the women's shelter. Richard teaches a night class on legacy finance rewritten with soul. Together, they launch the Grace Initiative, a nonprofit supporting job training and transitional housing for women like Grace once was. One day, Lauren drops off a donation envelope with a handwritten note. You didn't just save Richard, you saved all of us. Thank you. In time, the headlines change. Not billionaires falling, but Grace rising. Now, we want to hear from you. What did this story mean to you? Do you believe second chances like this can happen in real life? If you enjoyed Grace and Richard's journey, comment 100 below. Tell us which country you're watching from, and if you believe love is worth fighting for even when the odds seem impossible. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, Because sometimes it's not where you come from that defines you, it's where you dare to go.